Well, God's blessings to you. Today, I want to focus on a book and feature a book that is just an absolutely fascinating read. Those who really enjoy theology proper, and I would even say initially a little taint of prolegomena, which is the preface, I would say, to any theological discussion. John Girardeau is the author, and he takes a deep theological dive into various discussions of theological questions. So the title is really appropriate because that is exactly what he does. He prefaces a topic of a theological discussion, and then he dives into it. Now, there's a lot of, for those of you who are familiar with Girardeau or have done some research on him, there is some misconceptions to be clarified about him. He was a Calvinist. He was reformed in his theology. However, and obviously he was a Christian. However, he is known as, or has been claimed to be, of the non-compatibilist view. And you might be thinking, well, isn't that a contradiction? A contradiction to Calvinism? Well, not really. Because there is a deep qualification that has to take place when discussing this. He actually, when discussing libertarian free will, couches the discussion per se, quote unquote, couches the discussion to a pre-fall discussion, meaning that when discussing libertarian free will, he's really discussing kind of the Adamic, I would say, pre-fall innocence of libertarian free will. Now, that's another discussion altogether, and he actually writes a book, another book, not this one, but another book that is much more helpful in that regard. But as you can see, these are deep discussions that if you enjoy reading about theology, if you enjoy talking about theology, this would be a great book where you could, that it would actually not require, but would be helpful to have someone else to discuss these topics that Girardeau writes about in his book. Now, there is a philosophical tone to a lot of what he's writing about, but I really hate to use that terminology because he is dealing in absolutes in a lot of his writings. Now, what he'll do initially in the book is he takes sort of an apologetic tone early in the book and downcasts universalism, shows you why universalism and pluralism is an incorrect view, and talks about how Christianity is the true religion. He does use some presuppositions in his theology, but they actually are helpful in showing why universalism is an incorrect view. Well, we could go on and on about this book, but we want to keep the video to a very short clip. And if this is something that you love to read about, if you love deep theology, in the spirit of John Murray, who came much later, this is just very precise and detailed information, but it's riveting stuff. Discussions of Theological Questions, John Girardeau.